Hey guys, in the last video we were talking about how, how we are related to power. And I guess this is sort of a philosophical aspect. We crave it, we like it to some degree, or we crave others and live vicariously through them being powerful. We'd rather have them choose and do things for us because we don't want that sort of freedom. We don't want to have to handle those sort of things. And these are these we go philosophers go back and forth as to what degree do we wish to avoid power, to what degree do we really crave it, or all that. I think it's a very complex issue. Both sides have interesting things to say. I don't really want to take a stance on either one because I feel like that would be too limiting of a description of human nature. But we can acknowledge both at least and say, look, we crave power. We also don't like responsibility and the freedom that we would have if we had to handle things on our own. So we look to the state. We almost see them as we almost worship them to some degree, and this can be very detrimental to our own potential and our own development because it makes us sheep and it makes us followers of people who may not necessarily be looking out for us after all. And this has always been an issue throughout all of history. So the question is, I guess, as we enter the 21st century, um, for those of us who are still thinking about it and not just, enjoying our technology and our toys, is there something we can do about it? Or is it always going to be like this? Have we accepted a sort of cynical view of of reality where we just like say, look, people are going to shaft each other. They've been doing it since the beginning of time. They're going to do it till the end of time. That's it. Just got to enjoy your own life. Um, Defend your own turf. I think that's understandably a way to think about the world, but not necessarily a more complete way. I think there are other aspects to human nature which have the potential to flourish. And I relate this to my own studies in Buddhism. As they say, we, yes, we have a tendency to be flawed. But this is not intrinsic to human nature. Now, B. Alan Wallace was mentioning this. In Western psychology, we sort of see the human being as a generally somewhat flawed creature who is prone to anxiety and prone to uh, negativity and worry and suffering. And that's it. And then, well, not that's not it. That's not all of it. Because in order to be happy, we need external stimuli to generate happiness. But left to our own making, we're not doing too well. We need other people to make us happy. We need stimulants, some kind of conditional stimulant to uplift us. We cannot be intrinsically happy. We're just intrinsically worried and fearful and scared and all that. Generally speaking. But as the Buddhists say, we aren't necessarily all that. Perhaps we're not intrinsically anxious, or perhaps there's an aspect to ourselves which we can refine to some degree and be able to actualize another aspect that is innate, which is perhaps being more peaceful, perhaps being prone to more simple, I guess, peacefulness and simplicity are have an equal potential in us if we practice the correct way and with our own minds. Um, our minds are not inherently our minds are not inherently flawed. They don't have to be. And Buddhist psychology, you could put it, has been trying to explore why and how to bring out that other side of us um, as an answer to the state of human affairs, which I think is quite a beautiful statement from any kind of view, whether it's philosophical or sociological. It's sort of looking at all of human life and acknowledging, as we know now, that yes, we've evolved up from Eden, but we don't necessarily have to carry some of these things with us anymore. We have other sides to us that we can bring out, which is uh, the more open-minded, the more evolved sense of a connection with others, more positive, relational, and interdependent things, and downplay the more negative, fear-prone anxieties and pathologies we have. These are pathologies. They aren't intrinsic. They are they are real, but they aren't necessarily fundamental to our nature. Going through them and solving them is very important, and perhaps that is part of our nature, but not necessarily remaining static. And, well, if we think about it, we're a very young race. We haven't been around very long. Yet we've gone pretty far, technologically speaking, and even culturally, with our ideas, with um, our concepts. I would give us some credit. I wouldn't just say we've just stepped out of the jungle. I think we're still part of nature. We've always been part of nature, whether or not we remember that. So, I would give us a little bit more credit. I wouldn't say that we're totally flawed beings. And because of that, I don't think that we necessarily need to think in the 21st century that we're doomed to fall back into fundamentalism, into war, into new biological and technological terrors. Yes, these things are very capable of happening, and as any species evolves and develops new traits, it can more is at stake very easily. A species can fall very quickly, and it requires a great degree of, I guess you could say, a great degree of our own patience and, I guess, cautiousness. Because if we're not going to be cautious, especially in this century, a lot could happen, a lot could fall apart. Um, so, in this century, I think we have the potential to bring out more positive aspects. I'm going to relate this back to sociology. We have the potential to bring out more positive aspects that are also a part of human beings. We aren't just the scared primal force, but we also have more nurturing. We have a balance, a yin yang sort of harmony that is disharmonized at the moment. But perhaps our evolution is sort of a way to kind of bring both out to create some kind of fundamental balance with nature. Because if nature is any example, the rest of nature is any example, it seeks to find some kind of harmony, and it responds to chaos with some kind of stabilization, with some kind of adaptation. And as we become more and more complex in societies, perhaps we're still looking for that stabilized mode of being. And perhaps in this century, we'll be able to actualize it through, through perhaps technology. Because here comes the theoretical part. If we begin to develop certain things, such as a more global, world-centric economy, which we have already, but it's still very centralized, a very global community, which we're doing with the internet, we may begin to see a stronger interconnection and interdependence, where people are sharing ideas freely. This free aspect has to exist. The internet cannot exist without this sort of free, decentralized philosophy. So, if that continues, and I'm hoping it will, we may begin to see a transforming society, a society that has decentralized free information, a continuously evolving connection with other people, peer to peer, person to person, that is faster and faster, nearly instantaneous and better. The fact that I'm making this blog is one example. The fact that I can call my friend up on Skype in a minute and talk with him is very interesting, but it's going to get even quicker and quicker and easier. The fact that the world is shrinking is exposing us to other people, and this exposure sort of, yes, it can create a violent defensive reaction, but often when we are forced to live with all of these people from our homes, uh, it's like living in a city. And I'm gonna get to this part in part 3.